Hi, this is Kerala at KeralaFicklin.com, WelcomeNetwork.com, WYLCOME Network.com, Welcome.com, or Pedience.com. And Pedience.com is where you can get all my writings, all my books. Excuse me. You get all my writings and all my books. So, because I want to get this done as far as the articles are concerned, as well as looking at accents, I'm just going to go straight to it. So, el corriente, don't forget we're looking at the difference between feminine versus masculine articles. So, el corriente, which would mean the current month, okay, versus I went a little bit over, versus la corriente, which means current, flow, stream. So we're talking here current, flow, and stream. We're talking water there, versus the trend, which is more metaphorical. You know, la corriente, the trend, the fashion, the moda, no? So once again, just in case you're just looking at this tape and you haven't listened to the others, we're looking at the difference between feminine versus masculine articles, and why it's important, especially if you're an English speaker going into a language such as Spanish, but also this is also true in French, that it's important that to learn when a noun is feminine versus masculine. And sometimes it's not only important because you want to speak the language correctly, but sometimes it's important as far as understanding is concerned. Okay, let's see here. Couple more. Oh, when I'm looking over here, I'm looking at the web page where you can find all this information. You can go to WelcomeNetwork.com or Welcome.com, or you can come into Pedience, because this is in both Pedience as well as in WelcomeNetwork.com, and just look this up and find it and download it or look at it on the web page. El corte is cutting edge when you're talking about the knife, the cutting edge of a knife. Haircut, or when you have a cut, when you're talking about electricity, and a cut when you're talking about a wound. If you cut yourself, you're talking about a wound, and in Spanish that would be el corte, versus la corte, which would be the royal residence, the court, or you're talking about a court of law. All right, let me give you a couple more, and then we're going to go into accents for a couple of minutes. El cura is the priest. El cura is the priest, versus la cura is the cure, care, treatment, or the dressing of a wound. So when you're talking about el cura, you're talking about the person. Just like it was el bateria, you were talking about the person, the drummer. El cura, you're talking about the priest. But if you're talking about la cura, you're talking about the cure, the treatment, or the dressing of a wound. So you can see they're very different things. Same words, but different articles. And by the way, we're talking basically about the definite article. El defensa is the fullback in football, versus la defensa is a defense. We're talking about their defense or protection. El editorial, you're talking about, now there you're talking about a cognate, a true cognate, editorial or leading article. So el editorial, English speaker could see that, and they would see that would be a true cognate, because el editorial is written, in fact it's written exactly the same as editorial is in English or leading article, versus la editorial is the publishing house. And I remember in Mexico, much more in the United States, everybody wanted to know, what's la editorial? What's the publishing house? Who publishes, or what publishing house published this book? Much more than I noticed that in the United States. El facha is a fascist. So once again, it's a person. El bateria, el cura, el facha, fascist. The person himself or herself. La facha is the appearance, the look, or the looks. The appearance, the looks, or the look that a person has. Let me give you about 2 more. You can always go in there and get this. El final is the ending, the last, the final, the end. Okay? El final. Es el final. Okay, for example. Versus la final is final, but when you're talking about a match, a game, or a contest, or terminal, when you're talking about the terminal for transportation. So in both el final y la final, you're talking about an ending, but very different type of ending. Okay? In la final, you're talking about the final in a match or a game or a contest or in a terminal of transportation, versus el final, I'll give you those examples again, you're talking about the end, the ending, final, last. Interesting, because those are more nuances. Okay, so you don't only have to worry about in Spanish the difference between masculine and feminine. You also have to worry about accents. And although, once again, in Spanish, if you don't put the accent many times in writing, okay, the person could read the letter and many times understand what you're saying, and there's no problem. But once again, you should learn how to manage accents, because they're important. So in the next video, in the last video, we're going to talk about accents and why they're important.